Welcome back to Website and TV. I'm Gemma Houghton. Today with me is Machiel, who's an online marketing specialist for Airbnb, to talk to us about international paid search campaigns. So hi Machiel, thank you for being here.
Thank you for inviting me.
So firstly, Airbnb, clearly a brand everybody knows and very active in many markets around the world. What are the biggest challenges you face when running pay-per-click campaigns?
In our case, the biggest challenge was that we have a very small team, but we want to be in many countries available. We don't have the local nuances. If you want to be in every country, you need to know how local marketing goes there. If you have 5 people and you need to serve 40 different languages, you obviously cannot do this. So if we go from a central templated account structure, we can get the normal clicks, but we can't go into all the detail you need to be going to get efficient campaigns.
So how do you counter that? How do you work around it to make sure that you can be in all those markets?
In our case, I think the biggest, we just had to be there. So we just pushed out as many as we could, even though it wasn't optimized for the market. And once we were there, we tried to get local support. We tried to get native speakers to make sure they go into the accounts and actually make it localized.
And how much does that approach work on an ongoing basis in terms of having the structure the same across all markets? Do you find that as you progress through it, you need to change the structure for different markets? You have to change the approach in order to improve performance?
In the beginning, we wanted to get as many campaigns out as possible, which was amazing because we could just start gathering clicks. Now we see that we need to go into these details. I think the approach was correct because we were a small team and we wanted to be as big as possible. Mm-hmm. But now we need agencies, we need more people within our team, we need more engineering support to make sure we can actually go into detail and start serving these markets right.
So what kind of information do you pull from, the analytics? Obviously, you enter these markets. Then what kind of information are you pulling from the clicks you do get in order to help you improve and increase the ROI on those campaigns?
Well, since the beginning, we were actually tracking everything internally already. So we were already aware how efficient certain markets were for us. Mm-hmm. Since we had a lot of campaigns, we could actually just go into campaigns and see how efficient they were doing. So even though we didn't have the local nuances, we didn't really have the local, maybe language even, we would still see if we could get enough clicks and we could get enough bookings or signups from them to actually be efficient with them.
And then how does the PPC work with other areas of search, for example, with SEO, but other marketing areas, maybe social media or content? How does that all work together to present, an overall picture in a market?
In the beginning, we were responsible for certain geographical areas, mm-hmm. which means you had to do the entire marketing funnel. So of course, we could say that certain AdWords campaigns would follow up on Facebook campaigns, or we could do social media stuff and then follow it up with paid stuff. Nowadays, we're a bit bigger team, so we decided to also split up the marketing funnel. That means we just need to communicate a lot across a lot of teams to make sure that we're all aligned. Of course, we have certain campaigns that are always running, but if there's certain initiatives, we need to make sure that all the teams are aligned and we actually know what the other teams are doing so we can actually expand whatever we're doing there.
And how much do you vary the approach then between market as you move on? Do you see that in one market you may well focus a lot on Facebook, in others it might be more content approach or another social platform?
A lot of markets have different priorities within the company. Also, some markets have more support from marketing just because we could find native speakers there or just because they have a priority within the company. I would say we have the campaigns that are always running, they get all the support they need, but for instance, if there's events or certain initiatives running there, mm-hmm.
We
would get the proper support for it. Unless we already have it, then it would get more attention.
And how do you ultimately benchmark and measure the performance across the international campaigns? Are you able to do you benchmark between countries, or do you really take each as a separate approach? Like you say, some have more priority, mm-hmm. some are going to be bigger markets for you than others. How do you manage that and decide where to move forward?
So in the end, I think we should be super granular for every geographical location. Mm-hmm. At the moment, we're a worldwide team that also gets worldwide global KPIs. That means if certain markets perform amazingly, of course, we will also try to invest more there. If certain markets are not as efficient, maybe we'll take some money out of it. Unless somebody from the management team says that this is a priority, we need to focus on it, then we would probably artificially subsidize it and try to get as many clicks as possible.
And then how do you share learnings between markets? Do you see that something's worked well in one and then try that in others, or do you really treat them all, are you able to do that?
Yeah, it's a disadvantage we're a small team, but in this case, it's actually a big advantage that we're a small team because we have so many weekly meetings also, and we're only like less than 10 people. That means we talk a lot, we communicate a lot. If somebody's doing a test in North America, we know how it went. If somebody's doing something in Asia that is super successful, of course we want to try it out in Europe.
Yeah, so it's very important, regardless really of the size of your team, to make sure you do communicate that and make sure that you're sharing those ideas.
Yeah, I think one of the most important things, especially in a global team, is actually learn from each other. Be open in communication, send out as many emails, every result you get from every experiment, share with everybody, even though you think maybe the experiment was not successful or it's just not important, just share with everybody, because maybe for me it's not important, but for somebody in Singapore this might be something huge.
Yeah, so it is really about testing as well and always seeing what works in each market.
Yeah.
And are there any markets that you perform particularly well in that maybe was a surprise, or any markets that you'd expect to do well in that don't go so well?
I don't think we have any real outliers there. The traditional European markets like UK, like France, they all perform well for us. We're having more trouble, I would say, in Asian countries also because the brand is not that familiar there yet, and we also have more competition there. But overall, there's none of them where I say this is crazy or this is where people should be writing about.
Yeah, and it's also about building that brand awareness. You're always going to have more.
Exactly. Yeah.
You're always going to do better in the markets that know you.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah. Of course.
So what are your kind of top tips then you would share if you were to give 2 tips to anybody running international PPC campaigns? What are the biggest things to make sure you get right?
Be as local as possible. Don't just think because it works in the US, it's going to be working in Germany, because it's just not the case. And on the other side, if you want to expand in as many countries as possible, make sure you have something that's manageable by not too many people, but manageable across a lot of accounts. So you might want to have a certain account structure, which you can easily do some adjustments, and then also do these adjustments for other markets.
Yeah. So don't be scared to try things to start with and optimize later. Kind of don't wait necessarily till you can do it all properly to begin with.
Yeah, it's one approach which I personally really prefer, is just push out as much as you can, especially if you need to grow, especially in a hyper-growth company like Airbnb. If you want to grow, just be out there. And then once you're there, start optimizing.
Great tip to end on then. Thank you very much for sharing with us today.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.